I'm Harrison Graham. We got a loaded episode coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. Is a new head coach candidate emerging to potentially replace Matt Eberflus in 2025. We will talk about that to kick off today's show in just a moment. Also, Caleb Williams, Thomas Brown, that relationship seems to be growing. Both talked to the media today. We'll dive into that. And lastly, just having a little fun. Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, some numbers going around since CJ kind of big broed him after that game in week 2. So we'll have a good time with that toward the end of the show as well. I want to hear from you guys. Are you cheering for wins or losses at this point? Obviously, the playoffs are an ultimate long shot. You're going to have to win out to have any chance, so that's a long shot. But I think there is value in winning these games, especially for Caleb. And, a lot of these players are going to be here moving forward, regardless of who the coach is. But I understand wanting to tank and getting a higher draft pick. So W for wins, L for losses. Let me know what you guys are cheering for at this point in time. All right, Joe Brady, is he the top candidate to replace Matt Eberflus as the next Chicago Bears head coach? Let's dive into some betting odds per bet online here as these dropped recently. Joe Brady, the Bills OC, who we'll dive into, is currently the betting favorite at plus 325. You got Ben Johnson in there as well at plus 400, who we've talked about a lot. Thomas Brown, the third favorite, plus 600. Aaron Glenn, the other Lions coordinator, plus 700, along with Liam Cohen, the Bucs OC, at plus 700. Then you got Kellen Moore, Mike Vrabel, Josh McCown, Drew Petzing, and Brian Flores a little bit lower on the betting odds to replace Flus as the next head coach. Now, there is something you need to know. Betting odds for where a coach or what team is going to hire a certain coach, typically that is not an indicator. That's sports books trying to get you to bite and put some money down. I'm not saying there's never a case where these books get some inside information and they put some names together, but with these type of things, especially in the middle of the season, especially when the current coach hasn't even been fired yet, it's typically not a great indicator, but that does not mean that Joe Brady isn't a viable candidate and couldn't be the next head coach. So let's dive into him just a little bit. You look at this Bills offense this year, third in scoring, 13th in total, but they've been really balanced. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Top 10 in third down and red zone conversion rate, and then just second in turnovers, taking care of the ball. That's really something that has changed with Josh Allen's game since Joe Brady took over as the play caller about 2/3 of the way through last season. By the way, the Bills are 15-3 with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, so that's something worth mentioning as well. And what I like the most about what Joe Brady has brought to that offense, they have a legitimate running game. I think they're 11th in rushing yards per game this year, which is much higher than they usually are with Josh Allen, and he's been their leading rusher like every year of his career. Well, this year James Cook leads them. They also are getting production out of Ray Davis and a couple of other guys, Ty Johnson as well. They can run the football with running backs. That's not something they were doing before with Ken Dorsey or even really with Brian Daboll. It was just passing and have Josh Allen be the primary runner, which he still can and still does run, but over the course of time, you don't want him to take too many hits. For me, I like Joe Brady. If you remember, he was, many consider the top guy at LSU for that 2019 national championship team. He was technically not the OC, but most people will say like he's Burrow's guy for that team that put up historic numbers and won that national championship. Kind of lost some steam when he ended up in Carolina as the OC there, but he's clearly rebuilt his image here, and I do expect him to get head coach interviews. I would interview him. Wouldn't be my top guy, but top 5 or 6, I'd probably have him up there in terms of someone who could potentially replace Matt Eberflus. Still young. If you hit on him, he could be your head coach for the next 15 years potentially. How would you grade a Joe Brady hire if it were to happen? A, B, C, D, or F? I'd probably give it a solid B. I'd be happy with it. Offensive guy, young, can call the plays. In theory, could build a critical quarterback play caller, head coach relationship with Caleb Williams. So I'd be happy with it. Again, it wouldn't be my top option, but I'd feel better about this one than I did with Matt Eberflus when that happened 2.5 years ago. Speaking of building a relationship, Caleb Williams and Thomas Brown, this thing seems to be gaining steam very quickly. You just saw in the betting odds, Brown the third favorite. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but something worth mentioning as both talked to the media today. Here's Caleb Williams talking about his new offensive coordinator, saying, quote, "We've connected pretty well. He's done a great job to understand me and the players we have on this team." Thomas Brown had this to say about Caleb, saying, "That's a rookie quarterback who, in my opinion, hasn't even scratched the surface of how good he can be. I'm a pretty direct person, and Caleb likes being coached." And look, again, it's been 2 games since he's taken over as the play caller, but pretty good 2-game stretch, over 70%. Throwing the ball with authority against 2 really good defenses in Green Bay and Minnesota. QB rating of right at 100. Threw a couple of touchdowns against Brian Flores' defense this past week. So far, so good, right? I'm not saying make the guy the head coach, but I'm intrigued. I want to see more. I'm curious to see how they handle a short week going to Detroit on the road to see if they can put together another good offensive performance. The win-loss result at this point, I'm just not that concerned about because that ship has sailed. You've lost 5 in a row. You're changing head coaches. But can the offense be prolific for a third straight week on a short week against maybe the best team in the NFL in the Detroit Lions? That would be another building block for Thomas Brown and Caleb Williams growing together as a unit. Thomas also said this about Caleb, quote, "It was very obvious," this was about going up against Flores' defense, "he had no fear at all. When it comes to the end of the game, end of the half, he's delivering in a big way." And it's something we talked about last week, but now with updated numbers, he's been very, very good this year in the fourth quarter, and in particular in 3 of the last 5 games against Washington, Green Bay, and Minnesota. He has delivered at a very, very high level. Statistically, it's easily the best quarter this season for Caleb. He's elevated to another level. He's rising to the occasion. When the game is hanging in the balance, he is delivering. Unfortunately, some players around him haven't. The coaching has let him down, specifically Matt Eberflus, and they've somehow managed to lose these games, but he's done his part. Like, he has done that time and time again. And what was like the big fatal flaw under Justin Fields is in the fourth quarter when he had a chance to go tie or take the lead, it rarely happened. And you're already seeing Caleb pass those tests. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to just watch him the rest of the way. I know the Bears are not going to make the playoffs unless they win out. I get that there's going to be changes in the offseason with the coaching, but I'm eager to watch Caleb Williams play under Thomas Brown these next 6 weeks and let the chips fall where they may. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. You got some Thanksgiving football coming up. This is the perfect time to get in on the action at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you play initially for just $5 if you're a brand new customer. So check it out today. Got a little Thanksgiving special for you guys as well. Tyreek Hill, more or less than half a receiving yard. You pair that with something else or up to 5 other plays within your entry, and you are good to go. You're halfway home if you just do a 2-player entry. Tyreek Hill, obviously, he's going to get at least a yard there. They're giving you a freebie. Check it out today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. Again, you get a $50 bonus when you play for just $5. Doesn't matter if you win or lose that $5 entry. You're going to get a $50 bonus to play or have extra money to play with. So pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Link and promo code in the description and comments of this video. All right, I saw this going around today, and I thought we'd just have some fun with it. Remember when this happened? Remember when, Caleb and CJ kind of had the quick handshake, and Caleb started to walk away and go to the locker room, and CJ kind of grabbed him and, big broed him a little bit. I don't want to make it too much of a thing out of it, but it was kind of a weird thing. Like, they're basically the same age. I think Caleb might actually be a couple months older. I'd have to go double check that. And it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like Stroud was acting like a 12-year vet or something like that, talking to a rookie. Well, this started going around today, and I added a couple of numbers here. Since they played each other in week 2, Caleb's played in 9 games, Stroud has played in 10. Completion percentage, advantage Caleb. Yards per game, basically a wash. TD interception ratio, 11-3 for Caleb, 11-9 for Stroud, advantage Caleb. Passer rating, 92 to 83.5, advantage Caleb. Sacks, they've both taken too many sacks. I wanted to outline that because both have had an issue there. Some of it offensive line play, some of it scheme, whatever the case may be. So why am I bringing this up? I'm not trying to like re-up CJ Stroud or anything like that. I'm bringing this up because, and we're all guilty of this, and it'll continue, and I'll overreact, and that's what makes this fun. But we declare way too early who players are, and especially quarterbacks are in this league. I mean, at this time last year, we were already calling CJ Stroud a top 5 quarterback. I probably even mentioned, like, this guy looks like a top 5 guy. He's going to be unbelievable. He's clearly taken a step back this year. I'm not selling my CJ Stroud stock. I still think he's going to be very good. The point is like, after that game, you would have thought, and even just a few weeks ago, people, oh, the Bears, they drafted the wrong quarterback. Guys, we got to pump the brakes on this stuff. Jaden Daniels has hit a rookie wall. Like, these things are fluid. They fluctuate. More film gets out. Players adjust. Teams adjust. Coaches adjust. Caleb's elevating right now. Like, let's see how this plays out. Let's enjoy the ride. I have no regrets of what the Bears have done to end up with this quarterback. Like, they're in a very, very good position. We've seen the talent on display throughout the season. He's starting to be more consistent with it, and that's very, very exciting to think about. Who do you guys think will be the better quarterback long term? Type CW for Caleb Williams or CJ for CJ Stroud. You know, both have different strengths and weaknesses. I think Caleb's ceiling is higher. I think he's got better arm talent. I think he's more mobile. CJ last year has proven to have one more complete season on his resume, but it's kind of interesting that the last 2.5 months, Caleb's actually been the better quarterback, and that was with a really bad 3-week slump in the middle there. So, you know, let's see how all this stuff plays out over time. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Now. We'll have a couple videos go out on Wednesday, tomorrow, and then obviously it's game day on Thanksgiving. Bears, Lions. Can the Bears pull off the upset? We'll be live for that as well. My name is Harrison Graham. See you guys soon. Bear down.